This was his very first visit, Reverend Sharpton's, to the former Sharpton plantation since 2007, when the New York Daily News discovered that the family's link to former U.S. Senator and staunch segregationalist Strom Thurmond. Reverend Sharpton said that him and his daughters stood in front of the shack to remind Governor Ron DeSantis and others that you cannot twist history, nor will you erase our stories. Reverend Sharpton was also in Martha's Vineyard this past week for the African American Film Festival, where he traveled to the 21st annual Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival, in addition to screenings and also a celebration of film and the arts. The festival has featured important discussions and breakout sessions, and Reverend Sharpton addressed one such panel during the Bonds of Brotherhood Men's Luncheon. The festival also featured films addressing Black women's health, the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, mental health, and much more. Filmmakers and creatives, industry professionals, film enthusiasts, and business execs, also people from an array of backgrounds, also attended the gathering, and Reverend Sharpton was pleased to speak at such a large event this week at Martha's Vineyard's African American Film Festival. Also specifically discussed the importance of Black male role models. Many of you know we're 2 weeks away, or actually, really much, almost, a little under 2 weeks from the March on Washington. I know y'all are all registered, and we'll be all going down to Washington, D.C. together. Make sure, of course, if you need more information, you stop by the desk here, or you go to our website, nationalactionnetwork.net, and get the information. Also, just want to touch on really briefly that the federal court has ruled Mississippi law banning from felons for voting is unconstitutional. We also want to talk about the fact that the Illinois governor has literally signed a law into legislation that really addresses Racism and Free Schools Act, which requires Illinois schools to create and implement and maintain at least one written policy, prohibiting discrimination. So there's a lot going on in education and also voting rights and things that young people should be aware of. We're going to continue talking about these things throughout the program, but also want to salute Brother Felivi Dosa and Usman Diallo, who lead our efforts for our Youth and College Division for National Action Network, for all the work they've done this summer, and the efforts that they've coordinated around specifically the March on Washington. And we just want to applaud them in their efforts. They are both back in school now for the fall semester's preparation for the next school year. As many of you know, they're still in college. And so we want to support them and just congratulate them on a great summer, and look forward to their participation and seeing all the hard work they've done come out into fruition at the March on Washington. So thank you so much. I'll see you a little later in the program.
Thank you, Dominique, for speaking so eloquently. Pardon me, I need to edify what I said a moment ago when I introduced Dominique. Dominique is the Huddle co-founder and membership national director. Now, we are preparing to move forward into the program. As I announced, the Huddle co-founder, Ashley Sharpton, to come present the announcements and action alerts.
Hello, happy Huddle Monday, everyone. Thank you, Dan. All right, I just have one announcement to add to what Dom shared with the action alerts. Does anybody know what week it is or has passed? Harlem Week, there we go. Thank you, Meg. Harlem Week has begun officially. I saw Arnold Penix and his crew. They were in the park this week helping to kick off the events, activities, and we heard from Greater Harlem Chambers Chair, Mr. Lloyd Williams, this past Saturday announcing Harlem Week, and we are in partnership with them, and we are excited about it. The New York City Two-Day Children's Festival that we are a part of is this Saturday, August 20th, and Sunday, August 21st, starting at 12 p.m. and to 6 p.m. These are the flyers. They are in the front, at the front desk, so you can take them. Bring your friends, bring your children, the children in your lives. It's free to go. Christian, raise your hand, Christian. and Giselle, one of our lead youth rep, were a part of the Teen Summit that will air virtually. Let's clap them up. It was amazing. They talked about the impact of social media on their teenagers' lives, so I'm excited to see their panel. It was great. It will air again virtually this week and during this festival. And then there's also a fashion show that I'm helping to coordinate, and that's going to be on Saturday as well. So take these flyers and definitely let's participate. And a lot about the March on Washington is all through the merch, like the merchandise, the books. And I know we have a NAN table. I'm not sure if Katrina is still here and if they're taking volunteers. But if you want to help volunteer to serve for the NAN table throughout, we're definitely taking them. And you can see Katrina or, I don't know who's here from the front desk, but Arthur as well, or Patrice. Oh, that's Marcus out. That's not Katrina. Sorry. Okay. Now I'm also going to share the Black History facts. We're going to do more than one this week, so stay with me. All right. And this is for the Black History for the week of August 14th, which is this week. All right, so we're kicking off August 14th, 1922. The second Black female physician ever, Rebecca J. Cole, passed away. So Rebecca J. Cole was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on March 16th, 1846, and she was the second United States African-American woman physician, and she was the first Black woman to graduate from the Women's Medical College in Pennsylvania. On August 14, 1959, Hall of Fame professional basketball player and business magnate Irvin Magic Johnson was born. Happy birthday to Magic Johnson today. We saw him at the convention. Keep doing what you keep doing. All right, August 15, 1962, Shady Grove Baptist Church was burned in Leesburg, Georgia. On August 16, 1963, the first Black artist designed a U.S. postage stamp. On sale this day was a stamp designed to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. It was designed by George Olden, which made him the first Black to design a U.S. postage stamp. On August 17th, I know some of us know this personally, 1981, the father of Black nationalism was born. Who was that? Who was the father of Black nationalism? Anybody know? Who? No. Who? I'm not here. I wish Arnold was here. Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, the father of the Black nationalist and Pan-African movement, was born on this day in St. Ann's Bay, Jamaica. August 18th. Oh, sorry. That's wrong then. I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh, it was supposed to be 1918. Sorry, I read that wrong. Sorry. Okay. Marcus Garvey, though. Okay, August 18th, 1963, the first Black person was admitted to the University of Mississippi. That was James Meredith. He was the first Black person admitted and graduated from the University of Mississippi in 1963. On August 18th, South Africa was banned from the Olympic Games because of its apartheid policies. August 19th, 1954, Ralph J. Bunche, he was a diplomat and the first Black winner of the Nobel Peace Prize and named the Undersecretary of the United Nations. August 19th, 1958, members of the NAACP Youth Council, like the Huddle, began a series of sit-ins at Oklahoma City lunch counters. August 20th, 1954, Spingarn Medal was presented to Charles R. Drew, who set up and ran the blood plasma bank in the Presbyterian Hospital in New York City, which served as one of the models for the widespread system of blood banks now in operation for the American Red Cross. We feel the omission of any group from history teachings results in a limited understanding of history's relationship with the present and the future, which is why we feel it's important here to know your history. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley Sharpton. Well spoken. Moving forward, we are going to announce that there's no Huddle report this evening, and the Huddle virtual announcement about the March on Washington we are preparing to share with you all now.
Hi, I'm Reverend Al Sharpton, president of the National Action Network. NAN, in conjunction with the Drum Major Institute, led by Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, has called for this huge march on Washington on Saturday, August 26, 11 a.m. at Lincoln Memorial. That is the same place where 60 years ago, Martin's father, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. King, stood at that place the same weekend 60 years ago talking about a dream for America. Why are we going back 60 years later? Not to commemorate, not as some kind of commemorative celebration, but because 60 years later, they have done the things that Dr. King stood against and that we still are facing. Oh, we made some progress, but hate crimes are on the rise. We made some progress, but they are diluting the strength of the vote in many states, and voting rights is at risk. We made some progress, but criminal justice has not been reformed. We made some progress, but gun violence is out of hand, where people are walking into synagogues, are walking into nightclubs based on people's sexual, their gender, their religion, or their nationality. We cannot not have a huge national gathering to push back, because those in power will only move when they see those that they consider powerless come together and stand. If they can do it in 63 against odds greater than this, we must do it in 23. I'll see you in Washington. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net to register, to find out where buses are leaving near you, or to find out where you park when you get there if you're driving, or call the toll-free number 1-877-626-4651.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. That was excellent, excellent news regarding the March on Washington. Again, there was no Huddle reports because the Nan Youth and College reps have gone back to college. So we're moving forward to the Art and Artivism segment. I want to introduce Big King. Big King, you may come to the microphone as we prepare for your musical rendition, for your entertainment during tonight's segment of Art and Artivism.
Hello, my name is the King Dr. Magic, aka Super Hood Angel. This one record I want to do is about how hard life is. Life is very hard, never ever give up. But I made it down in Georgia, but when I was singing in the booth on Georgia, I was like singing to God about how hard life is. I was telling God it's very hard and stuff. It's like God say, never ever give up, so. In life is so very hard, oh, so hard, and you better watch out. God and Jesus will save us. Oh yes, they will now. People are sparking up blunts and cane. People are getting sparked. People feel so good, they don't feel no pain. They just walk in the rain. They don't need no umbrella. They don't need no umbrella. They just walk in the rain. Bodies filling up with bullet holes. You better not be slipping, because blood will be dripping. People are jacking banks with guns big as tanks. Some people spit in your face and spit land on your tongue. Some teenagers get killed by a gun. They never get a chance to get old. They die so young. Now money makes people go insane. They lose their brains. People turn in Jack the Ripper, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. Some people turn into Bonnie and Clyde. Times are hard in life. very high, oh so high. And you better watch out, real, God and Jesus will save us. Oh yes, they will now. Thugs and gangsters in the joint got shanks to shank ya. Now people with head problems, other people find gloss and gas to solve them. Some pretty women are having babies, and the pretty women don't even know the man's game, don't even know the man's name. Bugging, thugging, jacking, capping, pimp, smacking, heat packing, slipping, pipping, blaze it up, hit the crack pipe. A lot of people gonna fight tonight, but God and Jesus will save us. Oh yes, they will now. Or hiding in trunks of cars, and people get out the trunks of cars and open fire, killing everybody they desire. Times are hard, and life is so very hard, oh so hard. You better watch out, cause real, God and Jesus will save us.
Thank you, Big King. I hope y'all enjoyed that music. Thank you, Big King. I really did enjoy that. Very nice melody. Moving forward, the membership and text alerts. I'm going to stay right now. I want to know, is everyone an updated member for the year of 2023? If you're an updated member, make some noise. If you're an updated member of National Action Network, raise your hand. No justice, no peace. Have you renewed your membership? I hear some yeses, amen. All right. If not, this applies to you as well as those who are not members. The best way to stay informed and in the action is to become a member of NAN. Stay informed about NAN events close to where you live. Text JUSTICE as capital JUSTICE, followed by your state to 59769. Remember, join us at the Saturday Action Rally every Saturday at 9 a.m. I'm now going to open up the floor to Huddle Good News. Is there anybody that has good news today? Please keep in mind that this is a segment dedicated to good news, and please keep your contributions under 1 minute at length. Thank you. Good news, good news, good news, good people, good news. Come on up to the microphone. I see some good news on the way. I feel it. I feel the aura. Sister Word, are you first?
Hi, y'all. God bless you. I'm so glad we're here together. My good news is yesterday I went to Grant Memorial Park and enjoyed Harlem Day Week. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. And you're welcome.
Good evening. How you doing? I'm Verna Parker of the hospitality staff. I was watching TV late last night, Sunday night, and I seen our favorite show was back on Billions. I don't know who watches it. Okay, and I thought of Ashley. I said, damn, it's too late to text or ring. It was 1:30 in the morning. So I'm watching again. So it's a political drama about the Wall Street, the stock trade, the attorney general. This one lying, his daddy lying on attorney general. The wife is a psychologist, very busy, but it's good. So one of the guys that's running for president, he's a billionaire. Last year, he told a lie and lost $3 billion on the season finale. So he's changing his story to see like he's this nice guy that does a lot of things for the community. So he says, well, I'm going to get it out. We're going to tell certain influencers and people that could get it out there who picture pop up. But I found the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you for that good news. Young man.
Hi, everyone. I was in Dallas for 2 months, so now I'm back. Yesterday I was on 125th with my mom. It was the hip hop 50-year anniversary, and we went to Grant's tomb, right? Yeah. So yeah, it was fun.
Excellent, good news. Thank you. Hello, sister.
Hello, Huddle. So first of all, I'm going to the March on Washington on one of the free buses that National Action Network is providing. I encourage you all to sign up. This is my third year supporting NAN at the March on Washington. I went in 2020 and also in 2021, and it's a great experience. So I encourage everyone all across the country, all ages, all races, girls, boys, non-binary, everybody, just come on out because we're all fighting for human rights in this country that are just not going well. And the second thing is, if anyone's free on Wednesday night and has some extra money, I am competing at the semifinal round of this year's Apollo Amateur Night. And if I get first or second or third place, then I move on to the finals in November, and I will have a chance to win $20,000. So even if I don't go on past the semifinals, the show is amazing. The people that I compete against are so talented, and you also get the chance to not only, scream for the people that you like, but it's the only place in the whole entire world that the talent show also encourages the audience to boo. So the experience is amazing. It also elevates the competition, and we don't want to get booed. So if you're free Wednesday night and you have a couple extra bucks, come and support me on Wednesday night and also see an awesome show. So thank you.
Great good news. Is there any more good news? If not, we're going to move forward to the Huddle Did You Know segments. But first, there is a video in queue. Ron, would you like to come to the microphone and introduce the video? Please do so at this time. Thank you. Everyone clap up Ron. Clap up Brother Ron, please. Thank you.
So for this section of Did You Know, the question is, how can we create policy that better protects our children? We're going to watch a video of where one of our children is assaulted.
In a world full of fakes, how do you avoid... In a world full of fakes, how do you avoid buying fake items that look just like the real thing? Are you getting faked over? Experts say it's all in the details.
60-year-old white apartment manager Kim Jennings approaches a 11-year-old black kid for swimming in their pool. Without legal justification, she approaches the defenseless kid and sprays soda in his face, and then punched him repeatedly in the face with the soda can. She's still not done. The 11-year-old kid just stands there, looking dazed.
It's touching watching the actual video. I've read this article many times, and if you could see in the video, there's actually his little sister that is standing beside him. So the title of the article is NC Karen gives a sorry excuse for hitting and dashing soda on a black boy. It starts by saying Kim Jennings, the manager of Greensboro apartment, was caught on video last week pouring a soda out on a black boy and hitting him in the head. We know now that she's being held criminally accountable for her actions, but her reasoning behind it was just as lame as what she did. Jennings told WFMY her beef started with 11-year-old Jace when he had returned to the apartment's pool that is exclusively to residents only. She said Jace was allegedly ordered to leave multiple times before, but this time it made her get out of character. Jennings is currently facing 2 counts of assault on a child under the age of 12 for spraying a bottle of Coca-Cola on Jace, hitting him in the head with the bottle, and allegedly pulling his younger sister's hair. Despite the blatant disrespect, some people believe that she is justified for her actions. So some people believe that she's justified for doing what she did. And the question for this article is, how can we create systems, policy that better protects our children? You can come up and you give your response. How can we create systems or policies that better protect our children?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is voting. You know, when we talk about the system, the people who are currently in the system must be changed, where they can really be more compassionate to human beings. So that's my answer to that question. But I have another question. There is a prevalent issue of people not questioning people who are obviously wrong in their rationale. Because for the most part, if anyone said that she was justified, those people need to be questioned. Why would she be justified? Why do you believe she's justified? Because sometimes when people make blatant statements like that, when they're asked to explain it, they have no rational explanation. But it's necessary to question certain people so they could think and hear themselves attempt to give a reason that actually makes no sense. But when a person is allowed to make blatant statements repeatedly and not question on it, they will continue with that. But again, we have to get new people in the system. And I will blatantly say these people must be Democrats. The expectations that Republicans, based on the evidence that we see now, can't be ignored. The Republicans who are in power now are not for the people. And I could reasonably, educationally guess that this woman who did that is a Republican. That's just me. That's just me saying that. Because for whatever reason, Republicans are given a lot of leeway to talk a lot of trash, to break a lot of laws, which are very blatant in our face now. That's why we're marching to Washington. But the whole point about it is the so-called ignorance that some people want to perpetrate, they cannot be allowed to get away with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I certainly wasn't ready for that question, my brother. I just want you to know. But what hit my brain when you asked it, anybody ever have ideas where as soon as they hear something, all of a sudden they get a new idea they never thought of before? That just happened to me. So what I say is we should pass a law. Create a law and then pass a law. The law should be called the karma law. That means don't do something to somebody else you would never want anyone to do to you. And if you do something to somebody else that you would never do to you, you get the same thing or worse. That would be what I would recommend, that karma law, national.
Good evening, everyone. Something that I would say, and when you look at the video and the question that goes with it, I don't think that there is any law, that there is any policy that could have avoided this. That lady clearly has a vendetta against black people, and she clearly did not like that young man. I don't know if they've had an encounter before, but even if they had an encounter, there was still no right and no reason for her to do that. So when we think about laws and policy, we cannot always say that it's laws and policy when you have people that have real issues in their minds, that have issues for no reason with people. You can be walking down the block and someone can still do that to you just because of the way you look, just because of your skin color, just because of how you act. So I don't want us to really just think about laws and policy. You can never change nobody's mind. You can never change nobody's heart. They scientifically, they tried doing things on people and it never worked. But what you can do is you can persuade people and show them why they're wrong. That lady deserves to go to jail for way more time than what she's getting. There are laws and policies. She abused a young person. She physically abused him, threw soda on him and punched him in his face. They will remove a child out of the home of a parent, but then when people that are not a parent do things, it goes left. But then there's young people, that are in houses and they're real quick to remove them, but this lady is just getting a little bit of time or whatever that was. I don't even know how much time she was getting, but I know that the time she was getting did not fit the crime. So they need to build on laws that are already in existence. And the same thing that the mother said earlier, that we really need to know who is in office so that we know how to get these things passed and how we can get these things moved along.
Honestly, I do want to say that there really was no excuse for this, because even if the child has went in there multiple times, it is an 11-year-old. The best thing to do is to alert the parents and tell the parents to deal with it themselves. And if you're going out of your way to verbally, mentally, or physically hurt a child for the sake of it breaking rules, it doesn't have the concept of, because you didn't teach it yourself, you just went straight for action. You can't really justify it because it's not a lesson, it's just extended,
Thank you everyone and all the contributors. You're back in the hands of our host.
Very well. Thank you, Ron, for presenting that information. Very intuitive responses I've learned from. So thank you for those who responded to that call to action to answer Ron's inquiry. I'm going to move forward to read an informative article titled "Documentary Traces History of Policing the Black Community from Slavery Through Present Day." Days after the fatal police shooting of Amir Locke last February, community activists gathered at the Minneapolis City Hall in protest. Quote, "We are here for Amir Locke. The question that I have is, how many more?" End quote, said Ron Adams, a community organizer who spoke at the event. Quote, 7 years from Jamar Clark, we're 18 months from George Floyd, and now we stand here dealing with another murder of a young black man, end quote. Locke, 22, was shot and killed by Minneapolis police officers as they executed a, quote, no-knock, quote, warrant. The controversial practices that allows officers to enter a private home without knocking or making their presence known. Locke was not a suspect in the crime for which the warrant was issued and was not named in the document. A licensed gun owner, he had been sleeping under a blanket on the couch when police entered the home. Body camera footage shows a gun in his hand when he begins to sit up as police approach him. An officer can see nothing, an officer can see, no, I have to say that again, excuse me. An officer can be seen shooting Locke less than 10 seconds after entering the room. In, quote, Sound of the Police, end quote, a new Hulu original documentary produced by Firelight Films for ABC News Studios, Locke's death is framed as just one example that illustrates the fraught relationship between police and the African American community. The film traces the country's complex racial history that set the path for policing in black communities. From the formation of slave patrols in the early 1700s to the advent of Jim Crow to the uprisings against police brutality in the latter half of the 20th century and recent acts of police violence against African Americans that has garnered widespread media attention. No charges were filed against the officers involved in the Locke shooting. Police condemnation of the incident led the city of Minneapolis to institute a total ban on no-knock warrants. Adams, executive director of New Justice Project, MN, says he lived right across the street from the building where Locke was killed. When he learned of the police shooting that day, he went outside to see what was going on. Quote, after I was out there for about an hour or two, they brought his body out. Later in the day, I saw the body cam footage, and the image that just stuck with me was them being very, very quiet, as silent as possible, putting that key into the door, opening it, and like literally snuffing this man out as he slept, end quote, Adams said. Quote, sound of the police, quote, also looks at contemporary efforts to confront and resolve the conflicts. Quote, it seems to be two forms of policing in America. One for white America and another for black America, end quote. Benjamin Crump, a civil rights attorney, says in the documentary. This chasm has deep roots going all the way back to slavery. According to the experts and civil rights activists interviewed in the film, slave patrols emerged in about year 1704 in the Carolinas, where they, quote, were used very specifically to patrol racial boundaries, end quote, between free whites and any person with visible African ancestry, historian Terry Ann Scott says in the film. Quote, the slaves patrols were deputized to go and recover white men's property, which were black people. Under the slave laws, slaves are automatically guilty, and any black was automatically slave status, end quote. Civil rights activist, the Reverend Al Sharpton, says that there was somewhere we could hide. Sharpton says, centuries later, historians draw parallels to recent incidents of weaponizing the police against black people, such as viral year 2020 incident in which a white dog owner called 911 on a black bird watcher who had told her to keep her pet leashed in New York City Central Park. Quote, when a white person threatens to call the police on a black person during a tense situation, that person is marshaling this long history of racist enforcement and the double standard of justice in America, end quote. Historian Elizabeth Hinton says in the film. The documentary goes on to trace the troubled and often racist history of policing the black community into the post-Civil War era and beyond. Incidents of mob violence carried out by white citizens were, in many instances, condoned or helped by law enforcement themselves. according to historians interviewed in the film. After the Great Migration, segregated black communities saw heavier policing in the forms of practices like, quote, stop and frisk, end quote, the right of law enforcement to stop, question, and pat down anyone deemed reasonably suspicious. Quote, black people were experiencing a sense of living in an occupied territory. Police were an occupying force as if you were a conquered people, and the conquering army set up checkpoints and military posts in your community. And that any show of resistance to this experience of oppression could result in detention, arrest, or death. This created some of the ground wells of tension that would eventually lead to acts of racial violence, end quote, Muhammad says. When Los Angeles police officers were seen on video brutally beating black motorist Rodney King in the year 1991, images circulated in the mainstream public discourse that, quote, much of black America knew about, end quote, and had seen firsthand in their communities, Cobb says. The proliferation of smartphones put cameras into everyone's pockets and has only increased that visibility. For example, bystanders have been credited with documenting on their phones numerous incidents of police brutality, such as the murder of George Floyd in May year 2022. Quote, before that happened with a camera, people could debate. Quote, that's impossible. This is America. Y'all are making this up. When you get the video, it changed the conversation, end quote, Sharpton says. Still, progress has been an uphill battle, with many police departments resistant to change, civil rights activists say. For people like Karen Wells, Amir Locke's mother, it is a painful reminder of all that has been lost. Quote, I think about Amir every day, all day. Amir should be here, end quote, says Wells. Quote, there is no reason why my son should be in an urn right now that I have to look at every day as a reminder. I feel like because of the color of his skin, he didn't have a chance. No mother should have to bury their child. He's not coming back. He's gone, end quote. Next, I'm going to call up Christian.
Good evening, good evening again, Huddle. Okay, so I am going, my to know for today is when student loan payment resume, 56% of borrowers say they will have to choose between their debt and paying for groceries. Is there anybody in here that has student debt? Okay, I told my mother that before she goes that she must pay it because I'm not paying it when she leaves. Federal student loan payments are coming back, and they're going to wreak havoc on borrowers' budgets. Interest resume on September 1st, and payments will be due in October for the first time in over 3 years. But over half of borrowers, 56%, say that they will be forced to choose between making their loan payment or covering necessities like rent and groceries. When the pandemic ends, according to a new survey from Credit Karma. The finding is in line with what the Biden administration and many efforts have long feared. Though the brunt end of the pandemic is in rearview mirror and inflation is down from its meteoric rise last year, resuming student loan payments is likely going to hurt millions of households that have found some financial security over the last 3 years. Cutting back on non-essential spending will be the most practical way borrowers will adjust to make their student loan payments, according to Credit Karma. But there are only so many expenses you can eliminate. Here's how borrowers are planning to make ends meet, along with some tips on creating more room in tight budgets. Unsurprisingly, 68% of borrowers with household incomes of $50,000, 68%, okay, everybody heard that. What was the number? 68% of borrowers with income under $50,000 say they will have to choose between keeping up their loan payments and buying necessities. But a large portion of high earners also expect to struggle. 45% of borrowers with household incomes of $100,000 or more say they will be forced to make those hard decisions as well. Other debts may be part of the issue as well. More than 50% of borrowers say they're struggling to pay their auto loans, mortgages, credit card balances, or other bills, according to Credit Karma. One option that could especially help low-income borrowers is to apply for an income-driven payment plan. Under the new Saving on Valuable Education IDR plan, families of 3 or more who earn $50,000 or less may qualify for a $0 monthly payment, for instance. Still, only 34% of borrowers say that they'll apply for an IDR plan to lower their monthly payments, according to Credit Karma. Nearly 0.5% of borrowers are to go delinquent. Though 72% of borrowers say that they will prioritize their student loan payments over their other debts, many expect that they will not be able to make their payment and could see their loans entered. In fact, 45% of borrowers expect their loans to go in without an end, according to a survey. The good news is that will take a while. So that's a little good news. The Biden administration has instituted a 12-month on-ramp period that allows borrowers to miss or make late payments on their loans without being considered delinquent or getting reported to credit agencies until the end of September 2024. So that's 12 months from now. So give President Biden a hand for trying to help people. Hopefully my mama applies for that. Still, interest will continue occurring. Borrowers should make every effort to stay on top of their student loans to avoid more financial turmoil, such as drop in credit score or bills getting set in collection agencies. So now, before I sit down, I'm going to give you guys 3 tips on how to manage student loan payment and other bills. The first one is to use financial loan protection to your advantage. Use all the resources that they give you and every ounce of help they try. 2, negotiate bills like rent. Some of you have found ways to get your rent lower than what it should be or what they were asking for. Do the same thing with your student loans. If you know you cannot afford to pay your student loans with all these high prices and everything else, negotiate. What's the key word? Okay, negotiate. And then 3, audit your discretionary spending, okay? Alrighty, so that's our to know on student loans. And Ashley told me that before I sit down that I should mention student loan forgiveness is something that we're marching for on the March on Washington. I told my mama to go, so hopefully she go with me so that we could march against her student loans and me having to pay at some time in my life. No justice, no peace. Okay.
Excellent job, Christian. Next, I'm going to call to the microphone Patrice. Patrice, where are you? Patrice. Patrice, are you back there somewhere, Patrice? Oh, all right. I think Patrice is making her way. Amen. Thank you, Patrice.
So, how many of you have heard about the Alabama Riverfront Brawl? Oh, wow. Okay, you want to play first? All right, so before we get into that, wait, let me see how many hands went up. How many of you? Oh, that's everybody. I love it. All right, great. We're going to play a video, and then I'll be back.
The Harriet II river cruise ship was fully operational, operating from a designated docking space along the river. The Harriet takes passengers on 2-hour tours up and along the Alabama River throughout the day. The incident occurred between the co-captain of the Harriet II vessel and a private boat owner and his family. The private boat was docked in its space, prohibiting safe docking of the Harriet. The captain of the Harriet remained away from the dock for nearly 40 to 45 minutes as he attempted to contact the operators of the private boat via PA system. They were only responded to with obscene gestures, curse words, and taunting. The co-captain was then picked up by a separate vessel and brought to the pier in an attempt to have a conversation with the private boat owners and or have those boats moved so that the Harriet could dock. A confrontation ensued between the co-captain and Mr. Pickett, the co-captain, being attacked by several members of the private boat. Several members of the Harriet II came to Mr. Pickett's defense, engaging in what we all have seen since on social media.
That's called Let's Get Together, right? But, wait, listen, it's been so many titles for this brawl, but let me talk a little bit about it, and then we definitely want to hear your thoughts. As bystanders turned their smartphone cameras on the riverfront desk, while several white boaters pummeled a black riverboat co-captain. They couldn't have known that the footage would elicit a national conversation about racial solidarity. Many observers on social media were quick to point out the significance of the city and location where the brawl took place. Montgomery was the first capital of the Confederacy, and the riverfront is an area where enslaved people were once unloaded to be sold at the auction. The area is a few blocks from the spot where Rosa Parks was arrested for disobeying bus segregation laws. This is the home of the bus boycott. This is the home of intense segregation and various forms of resistance today, he said. Even if there wasn't any explicit mention of race, many people saw a white man assaulting a black man as a proxy for some of the racist behavior that they've seen before. It brought a sense of solidarity and unified faith in this particular moment. As of Friday, Alabama police have charged 4 white people with misdemeanor assault. The folding chair, which has now been a meme, wielding man turned himself in Friday and was charged with disorderly conduct. Jim Cottrell, the captain of the ship, thought race might have been a factor in the initial attack on his co-captain, but the resulting melee was not a black and white thing. This was our crew upset about these idiots, Cottrell said. He later explained that several members of the crew, seen confronting the boat party after the riverboat docked, felt they had to retaliate, which was unfortunate. I wish we could have stopped it from happening, but when you see something like this, it was difficult. It was difficult for me to sit there in the wheelhouse watching him be attacked. All these individuals need to go to jail. So as you saw the video, some of you may have seen it for the first time, and after everyone reposted it, it was said, oh, black people finally sticking together. Do you believe that statement? And do you believe incidents like this are bringing us closer to each other or making us, stick more to each other? I need y'all to come up. I need to hear some thoughts on this one, and then I'll close it with my thoughts.
Okay, I'll go first. Something that the video actually did not show you was the 16-year-old boy that swam across from the boat onto the dock to also save the man. So I just wanted to say that. But I think that we have seen in history that whenever there is injustice against people, that is when people really come together. It is a sad thing to see, but it is also a thing that shows people that when you mess with one, you mess with us all. Especially coming from a state like Alabama that is proven to be a very racist state. That was one of the states where they had one of the most racist governors in American history. What was that governor's name? I don't remember what his name was. George Wallace, there we go. George Wallace, who was a very big racist, was against Dr. King, was against the Montgomery March and the Selma and all of that stuff. So when you show the world that that is not going to be a separator and that we're going to unite against them trying to bring us against each other. And then something that my pastor made a mention of when she was preaching yesterday was that the young boy swam across the water. And that showed that the generations were coming together. And that's another thing that people say about black people, that generations don't come together. So to show that that young man could see the injustice from the boat, get out of the boat, start swimming onto the dock, showed that not just are black people standing together, but the young and old are able to come together as well. So I just, yes.
Drops mic. Thank you, Christian. Come on, Sister Word. So the question was, as we see that this brawl brought a lot of black people together, do you think that incidents like this and going forward we can probably stick together?
I needed to have the question repeated because I know what my first thought was when I first heard the question asked. Black people have always been, that's how we are not enslaved. Black people were unified to get out of slavery. It may not have been like everyone, but it was enough that we're standing here without chains. So, again, the attempt is to now shackle our minds with these frivolous, slanderous statements that we don't stick together. Because for some people, it may be like a command, don't stick together. Because black people don't, it's like they're telling us we don't stick together. But we know that we do. Black people, when they got released from slavery, set up whole towns, independent black towns that were burnt down by white people who were racist. So we can stick together, and we're going to show them again on August 26th that we can stick together. So we're not going for the okie doke.
Thank you, Word. Come on, Coca.
I think it was interesting that the article didn't refer to those people as deplorables, because when they was upset with Trump supporters, they were calling those white people all kind of nasty names. But if you notice, they called them idiots this time, right? But they're deplorables, they're insurrectionists, they're these, why don't they give them those negative names, right? This is a professional telling the rules and they did not want to follow it, right? So why aren't they named all these negative names that they would have named people that are not of the same race, right? So I find that really interesting because when I saw that, I said, oh, look at all these deplorables getting together. Oh, look at all of them. Look at all how they acting. This is a professional man. He's in his uniform. He's explaining to them the rules, and they're gonna just gather up and beat them up like that. I'm so happy and so proud that our people got together. They just make us so, it just made me so proud. I was just like, and every time I see the meme and they showing the folding chair. See, y'all didn't see that part why but I mean, they showed the guy swimming in the water. I mean, it's just an entertaining video, and I'm happy it's real. I'm happy it's unscripted, and I'm happy that they stood up for that black man, because too often they have shown us to take out video cameras and notice, oh, it wasn't about video cameras this time, okay? They didn't. They came up there and they put hands. Everybody had hands, and I liked it. I was very proud.
Thank you so much. And I want to end it by saying, they thought, as they always think, that black people are alone, but what they forgot is that we are seeds, right? So we were all planted all around that brawl, all around that boardwalk, and we said, absolutely not. We will not have another Eric Garner. We're not having it this time. So they got out there in water and slippers, and as they say, Christian reminded us, that young boy, 16 years old, jumped in that water and got across that water because he said, oh no. And my thing is, how are you attacking a man who's only trying to do his job? And I understand that all he told them was, y'all can't dock here. That's it. But they said, oh no, that's black man ain't gonna tell us what we could do and can't do. But guess what? They found out. So, it's kind of funny when you're seeing all the memes, but that also tells you that black people, we ain't having it no more. In 2023, we won't do it. We head into the 60th anniversary, and they will see us out there. Hopefully, we won't be able to see the streets. And they'll be like, wow, these people are not playing with us. Not at all. So don't try it again. Any other group out there in Alabama is not happening. And that wraps up my Did You Know? Thank you.
Now I'm going to call Ron to the microphone. Thank you, Patrice.
Blessings, Huddle. This article, Did You Know, is not as exciting as the brawl, but however, it is something that we are marching for. This is about how can we stop the formation of the United States of apartheid that continues to happen? And the question I'm going to pose it before and after the article, is how can we stop the erasing of black districts around the country? Again, how can we stop the erasing of black districts around the country? Tallahassee, while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' bid for the Republican presidential nomination is turning into a long shot, his tilting of the state's congressional districts towards the GOP also has been in trouble as the first of two pivotal courtroom fights loom. Voter groups and citizens are challenging the boundaries approved last year by DeSantis, are scheduled to square off against the state next week before Leon County Circuit Judge Lee Marshall. Challengers contend the congressional map is racially discriminatory and violates the Florida Constitution Fair Amendments, which prohibit creating boundaries that diminish minorities' ability to elect a representative of their choice. The new boundaries powered Republicans to win 4 additional congressional seats from Florida, helping the GOP gain control of the U.S. House following last week's election. The legal agreements unveiled last Friday, attorneys for the state agreed to center their defense almost exclusively on the claim that the Florida's Fair District standards approved by voters in 2012 violate the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. So my question is, how can we stop the erasing of black districts around the country? How can we stop the erasing of black districts around the country? And I invite you up to just give me, what do you think? What can we do about this?
My response is copyright, patent, and trademark.
I don't know if that would work because this is politics. So I don't know that applies to private businesses. But anyway, it's not really? Okay, you can inform us more about that. But in the meantime, it's just repetitive. It's who we vote for the most part. But I'm thinking of this one southern state of which I cannot recall that was ordered by the court to expand the district of this black community. And the state representatives refused to do that. They did not expand it according to the court order. I don't know if you heard that story, but it was on the news. What they did, instead of expanding it in the way that the court ordered them, they expanded it a little bit. So again, it goes back to showing that these Republicans violate laws, violate court orders, particularly when they're in the favor of black people. So we're dealing with the true reality, and we cannot be willfully ignorant to the evidence that we show. No Republican needs to be elected to any position. They just can't be elected. They don't know how to stand up for what's right. They get wrongfully influenced by their peers. They don't need to be elected. So we have an opportunity to vote in 2024. But the reality of it is, in between that time, we have to convince each other by showing up and standing up, which is important, and that's why August 26th is so important. We have to now convince black people, particularly black people, and any other people who believe their rights are getting violated, your vote counts. You cannot get discouraged and not vote. You cannot get played with the rhetoric and not vote. We have to vote. We have to vote. That's the only way to do it. We have to vote in high numbers. Regardless of how long the line is, stand on that line and get in there and vote. Because they're trying to use tactics that they believe is successful. We know they're not, but we have to encourage, particularly young people, they get kind of aggravated and frustrated like real quick. We have to show them this is a marathon. This is a continuation. We have to stand on those lines, regardless of whatever slicing up they did of the districts, we still vote, stand on those lines, and get your vote in for the Democrats. For the Democrats. We've seen what these Republicans are out to do. We can't play dumb. The evidence is very clear. They really want to take away our rights more and more and more and more. And we could do something about it. So show up on August 26th if you can, but definitely vote in 2024. Please, thank you.
Thank you. There was the pastor that, I don't know if you said his name, but R.B. Holmes with the NAACP. He's also one of the leaderships of NAN Tallahassee. And I wanted to show a video basically about PragerU. That's a part of this as well, which caused him to take action around this issue. And this young man here brought it to my attention last Monday, but we had already wrapped up. So I want you to speak on why you thought it was important to bring that issue up. And I want us to watch the video. And then there's a part of the article, Ron, that says taking on PragerU. I just want to end it with that part. And if anybody has anything to add after you speak, we definitely want to hear from you. But I thought it was very, very important for us to highlight what you brought up last week, and I thank you for bringing it up. One moment.
I really wanted to hear, what evidence do you have that I am despicable? All I heard was, well, because you indoctrinate kids, which is true. We bring doctrines to children.
That's Dennis Prager. He's the co-founder of PragerU, a conservative media organization that creates right-wing educational videos for college, high school, and elementary school students.
Despite our nation not always living up to our declaration that all men are created equal, I am still so proud and thankful to be an American.
Even though you were a slave?
Exactly, because I was, and not anymore.
This is just one of a wide range of videos from PragerU Kids, the division of PragerU that creates propaganda for students in grades K through 6. Common themes include climate denialism, the whitewashing of history, and the promotion of colonization.
Unlike coal or fossil fuels, energy from wind or sun is unreliable, expensive,
and difficult to store.
In July 2023, Florida's Department of Education approved videos like this one from PragerU Kids to be taught in public schools statewide. Florida is the first state to take on the company as an educational vendor.
I saw them blaming teachers and criticizing teachers in these videos that are to be used with kids. I saw inaccurate portrayals of history. I mean, clearly, there's no real value to this. As an educator and as what we hear from educators all over the states, it's very, very frustrating, very disheartening to see this kind of infusion of politics that is preventing us from doing the jobs we're supposed to do.
What we're seeing in Florida is a flowering of reactionary wish lists and an attack on public education across the state, and specifically against teachers' unions in an attempt to dismantle any organized labor power in the state.
What I hear from teachers all the time is, I just want to teach. And so that's what we're telling them, then teach. It's really hard. But as a union, what we continue to do is raise awareness, to advocate for what's going on in our schools, to get parents more engaged in what's happening in our schools.
There's been a huge movement in right-wing circles to disenroll students from public schools, to embrace homeschooling, to embrace religious schools, to embrace more right-wing charter schools. And when students leave public education, especially if there are vouchers in place, that's a way of defunding public education.
When you connect the dots in all of this and you see groups that are funded by billionaires such as Moms for Liberty, which very often aren't moms and very often aren't even parents of kids in public schools, when you see these groups being funded by these same entities pushing vouchers and privatization of public education, I think we see the motive here. The motive really is to undermine public education, privatize it so that certain individuals can profit off of the education of our children.
So what can be done to keep kids safe from indoctrination?
Protecting teachers' unions, getting involved with school boards, and making sure that these decisions happen out in public as opposed to behind closed doors, I think are the most important things that people can do right now.
Hi everyone, Mark Barden here at Sandy Hook.
Well, I'm going to read the article that is associated with the video that we just saw, and just bear with me. So the title of this article is called Black Leaders Blast DeSantis Outside the State Education Building. It says the gloves came off Thursday morning in front of the State Education Building in Tallahassee in the ongoing debate about public education in Florida. The issue is racism, said Reverend R.B. Holmes, who is also a part of the National Action Network, leader of the city's historic Black Bethel Missionary Baptist Church, which is rooted in the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s. Holmes was backed by pastors from the other churches and denounced the new African American history standards approved by the Department of Education. The protesters are about instructions and teach enslaved people develop skills which could be applied for their professional benefit. Holmes and other, including Tallahassee Commissioner Diane Cox, Leon Country Commissioner Caroline Cummings, City Commissioner candidate Dott, the local NAACP and Florida Council of the Churches, are also upset that this governor and the Education Commission, Manny Diaz, refused to discuss the issue. Neither the governor or the commissioner's office responded to a request for a comment and insight into the controversy. Diaz reportedly backed out of a Miami Gardens town hall appearance, and on the topic scheduled for Thursday night, about 1,000 people were scheduled to attend. According to the organizers, a letter written by Holmes and a Tallahassee NAACP requesting the government and commissioner revise the standards has gone unanswered. I've never seen in my history as a governor that this is a negative, disrespectful, doesn't listen to constituents, and has a spirit of arrogance, said Holmes, who did the closing prayer for at DeSantis' first inauguration, has worked on Florida education issues with each governor dating on the Bob Grant administration in the 1980s. So pastor speaks out on culture of fear. Standing in front of a towering education building known as locals of the razor of the way in the seams since the Tallahassee skyline, Holmes warned DeSantis can't you get the White House by doing dark? You can't get the White House by doing dark work. And I'm going to end it there. And as an educator watching this, I'm sure like a lot of you here, just baffled. A lot of us don't maybe not understand the language in the article. The article was talking about standards. Each teacher is required to teach standards to their students. So when a principal comes into a classroom, they are basically tested to see if students achieve that standard for the day. So if addition is that standard, the principal is going to see if the students at the end of the lesson are able to add. So the standards that are being taught are actually lies about our own history. And so not only is DeSantis, redrawing maps so that we have less representation in Florida, he's also rewriting our history. And I know a lot of us are talking about Republicans and Democrats and this, but this is unprecedented. I have never seen anyone try to do this on this level, where they're going in and they are rewriting the standards. I don't have a question here, but if you want to come up and make a comment, please do so.
The reason I wanted to bring up the topic that we just went over now was because, ironically enough, I am in a summer school-ish thing, you know, making up some credits. And the thing that I was learning about were the Tainos, someone that, you know, Columbus ran into. About like thousands, like hundreds of thousands of people were living there. The Tainos were on an island, they were there, they were in South America, stuff like that. If I misunderstood that or said anything wrong, I will hold myself accountable to that. But what I meant to say was that Columbus went over there, he tried to enslave them because he tried to look for gold, failed, that whole thing, right? So now, skip the history lesson if you guys know it, you know it, they were slaughtered, genocide. 500 people were left. Literal priests came over there and were just straight baffled at how badly it came out. How many people were actually slaughtered. And no, that's not being opinionated. There's actual documents of this. I don't have access to those right now, but you can find it, they are there. And now the reason why I brought it up was because in the video for Columbus, what wasn't shown was the fact that Columbus basically said on the video that, how to explain it? Sorry, brain fart. That colonization was bad, but at the time it was good. At the time, colonization was good. That doesn't sound very good nowadays, but that was the whole narrative there. What it failed to say for Frederick Douglass was that he was, actually, no, can't speak on that. You can find it yourself. But necessarily, I did just want to speak on that in my own opinion.
Thank you so much, Reverend Word.
Yeah, I've also worked as an educator in Harlem. I've also been educated in Harlem. I've been miseducated in Harlem. I've been highly educated in Harlem. And that's because when I was attending school, I'm 72, so when I was attending school, they were not telling the truth then. They were not. But I learned the truth because there were people in our community, Dr. Ben, Professor Clark, and countless others, in the 70s in particular, who told us the truth. So I went to school, and I was an excellent student because I repeated what they taught and passed their tests. But I knew they were lying. So all the students have to do, listen to what they want to teach you, but stay with the people in your community who are going to tell you the truth. Because as a result of that, you can get high grades in school, but just repeat the nonsense. But then when you repeat it, I mean, you're being taught, you got to pass those tests. Those are the questions they ask you. Who discovered America? Now, we know it's not Columbus. But that's the answer they want us to give on the test to get a check instead of an X? Why not? But stick with the people in your community who really are about properly educating you in this society that gives you a bunch of lies. But we got truth tellers here. Fortunately, we're with an organization that includes a head boss truth teller, and then we can consider ourselves truth tellers as well. So it is what it is. Their tactics that are now being exhibited in Florida, it's not new. It's just so in our face, you know, and they're not putting shade on it. The desperation is very apparent. The last thing I want to say is this word dark is used a whole, dark times, you know. Dark times. The reality is evil. Let's use the words that's in the Bible. Evil. These people are evil. Now they're using the word Karen for racist. Just because that article they just read earlier, the title is in North Carolina, NC Karen. That's miseducation. Karen doesn't mean racist. Be clear, the word is racist. That woman is a racist. She's not a Karen. Because ironically, and I'll be off in a moment, Tamir's mother, her name is Karen. This black woman's name is Karen. So we got to be careful on how they want us to be indoctrinated even in this day and time. And we cannot allow it to happen. A racist is a racist, not a Karen. There's no such thing. We got to call it for what it is, because the miseducation will still continue if we don't stop it. Because that's their agenda. They're going to try it. So, and we can't be surprised that they are. So we got to be ready and understand and help our young people understand what you're learning. Just learn what they want you to learn, but definitely know a lot of it is not even the truth. God bless you all. Thank you.
I just wanted to say when I was in school, in elementary school, I had a teacher that tried to say that black people used to have tails. And I wanted to definitely let y'all know that, because I'm a Gen Xer, right? I'm from Team 77, and my son is a Generation Z. So these children are younger than my son, okay? But when I was in elementary school, there was an educator, a black man, that came to the class and said that black people used to have tails. And they was trying to explain, because I find in most education, they always try to act like the white man civilized us, that we were in need of civilization, and that we were like some kind of animal-like group of people, and that we needed the white man to civilize us, which that was incorrect, because we had pyramids, and that we, black people, mummified people, and they still don't understand how they have been able to sustain the skin of the mummies. Those are black people, educated black people, that white people still don't understand how they had those abilities. But they're gonna come to school, and I was a kid, and try to act like we were so uncivilized, okay? And that we were living amongst the animals. But black people was in the pyramids. Cleopatra was black. But they're gonna lie all the time. And when I was a kid, we used to go to Harlem to learn stuff, okay? I was in Brooklyn. We used to go to 125th. You go to 125th, you go to Bed-Stuy. We all used to go to meetings. I was a kid. My parents used to take me, okay? We knew about Dick Gregory. We knew, okay, no, so we gotta keep it real. We always educated our own people. And we still doing that. Don't let them lie and make up these stupid stories as they always do. I remember being a kid and they trying to tell us we were apes and we're living with the apes, and I used to always ask my mom, well then why is Tarzan white? Right? It was always got some stupid stories. King Kong and all that nonsense. I never liked it because my parents always educated me. I said, this is nonsense. They used to we used to always see this rat movie every Saturday, and the white rat ruled all the other rats. And I said, why is always some white something ruling everybody? But that's how they used to do it. And they still trying to do that. So I just wanted to remind people.
Regardless of what BS the education system, the politics is saying, is a fairly simple way to be able to tell truth from falsehood. And that is to understand principles, appreciation, generosity, responsibility, integrity, accountability. Like when you see these, no matter what people say, you can see it right in their actions. Their words will say, yeah, whatever. But when you see their actions and their results, you know they are talking BS and they're full of crap. And so understanding principles, that's one of the reasons why I admire Malcolm X so well, because he read the dictionary while he was in jail before he came out of it 7 times cover to cover. Nobody could mess with him because he knew what was going on. He could see where you was coming from and all of that stuff. So I say if we actually learn how to identify truth, then it doesn't matter what they say. They can talk all the crap they want. I personally have a system for being able to distinguish truth because I'm going to live what I'm saying. And so my system is I'm looking to see everything I'm looking for, it needs to fulfill 3 things. Accuracy, clarity, 100% clarity, and workability. And whenever possible, duplicatability, meaning we could do it over and over again and still get the same result. And so we need to be principle-based and the dictionary and just looking at the quality of a person's character. And then it don't matter what they say then. They would be like, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, right, whatever.
Good evening, Huddle. We're going to talk about 2 things. When I was young, I heard that story about the tails, but the people came from Europe, and they wanted to see the tails on us because the people were still talking about that we had tails. That's number 1. Number 2 is if the Jewish people basically teach and train their kids and constantly go over their history all the time. We have to learn to do that. And we have to do that and teach our kids so that our kids know our true history. All these politicians and all the people can stand up and say whatever they want and try to change our history. But we, the older generation, know the truth. So it's up to us to teach all those younger people that's coming behind us so that they'll know the truth. All the stuff that the teachers are teaching sometime, well, most of the time, is false-ism trying to make us look bad. But we know the real truth, and it's up to us to tell our people, our young people, the truth, and for them to spread it around to their friends and to anybody that's like them so that they'll know the truth. Because if the Jewish people can constantly talk about the Holocaust, no offense to anybody that's Jewish here, if the Jewish people can constantly talk about the Holocaust every time, if you took any young Jewish person, they know the history like it was yesterday. So we as Black people have to tell our young people so that they'll know our history like it was yesterday. And it's time for us to get on the bus so that we'll know what's going on and that we could teach our people, because it's strength and unity. And if we all come together, we can change the situation. But we got to come together in unity. And that fighting amongst us, it starts also too with all the churches. With all the churches and all the organizations, we have to band together. If we all don't see eye to eye, we all see eye to eye in one thing. If we all come together in that one thing, everything will be different and everything will be better.
Yeah, I just want to say that the white man trying to say that the black people are animals, but they don't tell you that black people really built America. We got more black inventors than we have white inventors. They don't say that. I just discovered a video on YouTube a couple days ago for black inventors. I didn't really get a chance to look at it, but I know black people invented the red light, stop green light. They invented the stop sign. They invented the elevator. They invented millions of medicines from peanuts. The white man don't tell you that. Don't ever think because you black you're an animal. We're all black queens and kings that God made us, and I'm so proud to be back in New York. I left Georgia to be part of National Action Network.
Amen and amen. Not only did we build America, we built civilization. We built community. We built nations. All nations come out of us. We are the originator. I'm not going to go into that, but what I will say is this. Hello. I heard Jesus was an African, right? Right, we can go into it. His hair piled up like snow, but we won't go up there. I will say that something that we can do when we come together is look at the standards that are being taught in history class throughout all the grades and make sure that our history is being told correctly and that it's in there. Black history is American history. You're back in the hands of the host.
Wow, that was a very meaningful moment in tonight's Youth Huddle. So thank you, Ron. Next, I'm going to call to the microphone Dominique.
Poverty was the flavor of the day. Could be 15 people in a 2-3 bedroom apartment. The landlords didn't take good care of the building, so it was rats, roaches. We felt forgotten. We felt like we were our own world where we just had to fend for ourselves, and we did fend for ourselves. That's what growing up in the Bronx was like, you know, a lot of violence, a lot of people lost on drugs.
We lost 60% of the population, in this community because of the financial disinvestment that led to the era of the burning Bronx. The space where we're sitting in right now, all of it across the street, most of it on the block that I grew up on, were just like literally wrecks, just shells of buildings.
It's very easy to look at the Bronx in terms of deficits, redlining, disinvestment, white flight, loss of economic opportunity. But during those years, the Bronx was also creating more varieties of popular music than any place in the world.
So that brought everybody out.
We needed an outlet to just have peace. We saw New York City as a billboard. The train going by as a billboard with your name on it. It was like, oh, I'm somebody, I'm famous,
I'm here in this city. I'm here in this community, and you're not gonna ignore me. You're gonna see my tag here. You're gonna see my mark there. You're gonna see my mark everywhere.
All right, so if you didn't know by now, we're talking about the 50th anniversary of hip hop. This past week, of course, we celebrated the actual birthday of hip hop, 50 years since hip hop was born. I was very, very grateful to be at Yankee Stadium on Friday as we celebrated 50 years of hip hop from all of the living legends, I think that, were really pioneers or have contributed to hip hop in some capacity, were featured at Yankee Stadium and just really spoke a lot of volumes to really what hip hop means, of course, to our culture, to the Black community, and of course to the nation. But my article talks more importantly about some of the legislation and issues around hip hop and some of the lyrics and how the culture has been impacted by hip hop and how the connotation of hip hop has transcended throughout the decades that since hip hop's birth, and how the music has transcended and the lyrics have transcended to mean a little different, something different today. So a closer look into the early days of hip hop, as we saw in the video. Hip hop was born out of a response to a social and economic injustice in disregarded neighborhoods, a showcase of joy. It was ingenuity and innovation, despite a lack of wealth and resources for particularly people of color in America. The music emanating from the DJ's equipment might tell partiers to move your feet, and then in the very next set, tell them to fight the power. So hip hop has been an integral part of social and racial justice movements. It's also been scrutinized by law enforcement and political groups because of their belief that hip hop and its artists encourage violent criminality. So we were talking about that. So whether a warning or a demand or an affirmation, hip hop culture and especially rap music have been mediums for holding the powerful accountable, for delivering lyrical indictments against systematic injustice. Hip hop can really champion the underserved and reclaim space, and also because it can threaten the concentration of power, certain forces have demonized the culture. Willie Prophet Stiggers, who is the co-founder and chair of the Black Music Action Coalition. That's a group of artists and lawyers and managers and producers who are unified against systemic racism in the music industry and in society, have begun to really speak out about, really the lack of concentration as it relates to the legislative side of how we can utilize hip hop to really progress our rights as people of color. Many of you who may know the name, Willie Prophet Stiggers actually started his activism career right here at National Action Network, as he was the first youth director for National Action Network. We called him Prophet. Many of you who were around the early years of National Action Network may remember him very well. He used to introduce Reverend Sharpton on Saturdays, during the broadcast, and his expertise, I think his poise as a young person was really dynamic and very. He contributed, I think, a great deal and a great voice to the movement. So he is now on this campaign to really look at legislation and how it affects our people through the lens of hip hop. He said, of course, they want to weaponize hip hop. The narrative can't be that this genius cultural expression that is the greatest cultural force that we have, literally globally, grew out of a different disenfranchised people. Many trace hip-hop's birth to a back-to-school party at the Bronx in an apartment building 50 years ago this month. And since its birth, emceeing, beatboxing, DJing, and graffiti have done much more than entertain legends of fans around the world and generate billions of dollars in commerce. But hip-hop's four elements carry the spirit of resistance and free expression as a comfort to the afflicted and the affliction to those who are too comfortable. So God to give us what we want, God to give us what we need. Our freedom of speech is freedom or death, and we got to fight the powers that be. That was Public Enemy, Fight the Power in 1990. Social and religious conservations and conservative of all stripes have long seen hip-hop in and of itself as a threat to so-called traditional values and peace and order. But their attempts at stifling the culture have only propelled it to worldwide acclaim and grown its influence over public debates and democracy. So the question becomes, what's wrong with hip-hop today? Racial justice activists and free speech advocates see the ongoing persecution of rappers as a proxy war primarily waged against Black and Latino men who are the early pioneers of the culture. For hip-hop artists who live under repressive regimes throughout the world, dropping bars to air one's grievances against the government can mean time behind bars or even worse. So expressing of oneself in today's climate has become, in and of itself, a weapon that Black people have utilized to commit violence against each other and to literally enrage, acts of affliction that we don't necessarily really want to engage in. Black history is under attack, Black culture is under attack, and rap music itself is under attack. And so there is some federal legislation that has been implemented and brought out that will protect artists themselves from having their lyrics and creative expression used against them in court. So recently we've seen some instances with some rappers where they have literally been criminalized because of some of the things they've said in their lyrics that has been broadcasted across the country. And there was a congressman in Georgia who actually introduced a legislation, and it was called the Restoring Artistic Protection Act, or the RAP Act. And that was created to ensure that lyrics aren't the only evidence supporting a criminal case. So similar legislation in a handful of states will require prosecutors to prove a defendant's lyrics aren't figurative, exaggeration, or outright fictional. Some have pointed to the criminal street gang conspiracy cases, those brought under, particularly in Georgia, their criminal racketeering law against Atlanta rapper Young Thug. I don't know if y'all know about that incident, but this is just an incident among many and where this piece of legislation would go into effect. So I say all that to say that as we are looking at, of course, while we're marching in Washington, D.C., we're looking at dealing with some of the issues that young people are facing as it relates to criminal justice reform, as it even relates to gun violence and violence amongst each other in our own communities. I think it's important as we look at the anniversary of hip-hop, the 50th anniversary, and the birth of hip-hop and what it means to our culture. I think it's also important for us to discuss like where we are today with hip-hop and how hip-hop has been utilized to be divisive and to really infer violence in our community. And it has really taken away from, of course, the depth and what it really means, why it was created in the first place, and how it has uplifted us for many decades. So I want to lend the floor to you to comment about that. I don't know if some of you have some type of reaction or, think that we should be doing more to reform hip hop. If we feel like, if we feel like the meaning of hip hop and what it has brought to us as a community has, of course, been tainted by some of the things that have been happening today to us. Anyone want to comment? No? Yes?
Thank you. I was about 21 years old when hip hop started. So, yeah, I was there at the very beginning. And when I, also R&B was my flavor, really, of music. But seeing the young people, particularly with this hip hop, and seeing the progress that they made in the earlier days, how they were, among themselves, they were able to get so popular. They started going into fashion, art, playwriting, movies. You just saw it, but you followed one particular character. Tupac, you know, we act like we knew him. You know, there was some that we just, Public Enemy, that was my thing, fight the powers that be. I was really, you know, KRS Chris, you know, I was like, I was really like, favoring those rappers in the beginning. But then I remember a young person, she was like 16, and she had headphones on. And she was singing, but I thought she was making it up. Because the radio I listened to, you couldn't say that on the radio. So when I heard her singing, I said to her, "Is that really in the song?" And she said, "Yeah." And she put her headphones on me. And they would talk about women's physical anatomy, like in the worst way. I was saying, when did this happen? Like, who allowed this? And then it progressed to the N word, which I call the N curse word. It's like, what? That's actually being sung in songs? So the progress of the beginning of hip hop when I was 21 and to see it move in the way that it's moving, it's like, and they want to defend the use of the N curse word, which is like, you can't defend it. You can't change the meaning of it, even if you put a Z on the end. Then there's a group called themselves NWA. Like, when you start calling your own self that? Then I heard a woman call herself the B curse word. I was like, when did women start calling themselves that? But that's part of hip hop. It's part of hip hop. But there's still people in hip hop that I just really like. I mean, I just have that flavor too. So I really do. Because when I hear some hip hop songs, like, I'm with it. I'm really with it. Because I'm there from the beginning too. And they still have some of the beats. And then they sample some of the 70s song too. It's like, so we just got to pick and choose what hip hop flavor we're going to follow the most. So I particularly like Fat Joe, all the way up. You know, I like songs like that. I like songs like that. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. I like songs like that. I like songs like that. Thank you.
Show me what you got. Thank you, Word. Come on, young lady.
So, hello. So I want to say that I agree with her. I believe that there's some kinds of hip hop that are really bad because I remember, like, I used to listen to songs that would promote violence, and it affected me in a negative way because I would say, like, the N-word a lot, and that was not usually in my vocabulary. And I would see other people my age calling themselves the B words. But as I started to look into these things, I'm like, why is my people calling themselves a female dog? Why are people taking the N-word very lightly when it has, like, meaning? And it's like, not only that, but it causes, like, kids my age to want to be violent towards one another. And it's really not good because we see that there are shootings out here and so many other things, and it caused children to act in ways that they don't usually act in that way. They're just doing it because they think that they're very cool. And and that happened to me before when I would say the N-word, when I would say these things, not because I actually say these things, not because that was in my vocabulary, but because this was what rappers promoted. They promoted calling females the B words, you know, saying a lot of things that really just dehumanize us as a community and make us look bad. And that is really all I have to say.
Just want to clarify something. I've been in the hip hop game a minute. I was doing a show out in California, and out there, that's that real gangster rap stuff. So I was just trying to fit in. So at my show, the rap I wrote, it had I called the women. Don't jump on me now. I'm just no, but it's a point to it though. I'm gonna show you how it changed me. But I said I had called them stanky, nasty sluts, right? But so all the women there, they went, oh! I said, oh my God, they gonna kill me. But they let me finish. They gave me a standing ovation. But when I got off stage, I had to check my pants, see if I boo-booed on myself. So ever since that day, I said I'd never say that again and be a gangster rapper. I'd just be a clean hip-hop rapper. That's not cool to call women bitches and hoes, all that stuff, because it's affecting our youth growing up. They gonna go out, you talking about take a gun, blow this nigga brains out, all that. That's what they gonna do. That's what they gonna do. And all those, see, it's the devil, them gangster rappers are from the devil. That's why they always getting in trouble, going to prison, getting killed. And the white people called the Illuminati from the white devil, they're trying to tell the young people where their pants hanging down. No, man, that's that fag gay stuff from prison saying, get my booty. So,
Thank you. Yeah. So, first of all, yes, thank you, Ashley, for pointing that out. So, everyone that comes to the mic, are giving their own opinion. We're going to be respectful for everyone sharing, because it's a safe space. But we don't, say derogatory names, just like you inferred the N-word. There are other derogatory names that you used that, definitely insult certain individuals. So let's refrain from doing that. But let's be respectful for everyone. And we do apologize. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of the rap songs that started out told stories, and the rappers battled against each other. And it was bringing them up financially, and it was giving us enjoyment. And then the white people found out that they could make money. And they let a lot of the rappers say anything. Why? Because it was derogatory towards the black people, and they didn't care if they said things that pushed the black person down or made them do things to each other. And they got rich off of that. Or should I say they got rich off of us, pushing other people down. And that's what they did. And today, when a lot of the rappers come out and they start saying the B word, the N words, and all that kind of stuff, a lot of young people follow them because they think it's cool. They think they down, and they wannabes. And they go out there and hurt other people because a lot of times it's promoted in the records that we hear and the things that happen. See, if you have a picture or a rap that's good, it's not promoted as much as the bad rap. So instead of listening to the good rap, we'll turn on the bad rap. And the bad rap is cursing and saying all kinds of stuff. And if you look at reality, we're not like that. But we want to follow the crowd. We want to be with the crowd. We want to be down. So therefore, a lot of those young people, and some older people too, start doing the stuff that they see other people do. Like wearing their pants down and stuff like that. Come on, really? And when you get a certain age, all that stuff should go out the window. When you find a person that's 30 and up doing what the people that's young people do, something wrong with them. And something, no offense, ladies, something wrong with the girls that want to be with a guy that treats them foul, walk around with their pants down, call them the B word, slap them. Something wrong with that. Something wrong with that picture. Because if we let it go, it goes over into our children. And it goes over into our children and their children too. So we have to stop it right here, right now. Because if we don't stop it right here, right now, if you know rappers, if they in your families or their friends, teach them the right way and not the wrong way.
Thank you so much.
I am so happy and proud of hip hop. I grew up in the neighborhood where it started, Taft High School, DJ Kool Herc. I just love it. And for me in particular, it helped me to identify myself and to be myself. When I was hearing Curtis Blow talking about the breaks, and KRS-One talk about love's gonna get you and all of this stuff. It was just like, ooh, I couldn't stop dancing to it, but I couldn't stop connecting to it. And I've been loving it ever since, watching it changing a little bit until about the middle 2000s, first decade. Because after Jay-Z and Alicia Keys did the New York one, I ain't heard nobody do nothing really good after that. And I think what happened is they changed the industry, the management behind it. They changed the way rappers was doing stuff for the most part, because when I was listening to it and growing up and dancing around it, it was personal and it was from the heart. And now it's about making money. Nothing but a G thing. By the way, when you was playing Rakim, Paid in Full, I was thinking that's one of my favorite rappers, so there you go. But really, if we give ourselves permission to really take advantage of it, to really give ourselves permission to go into it, rather than just trying to make money, how about if we give our heart to the rest of humanity? That's what's possible with rap, hip hop. I'm complete.
Thank you so much.
So, try to make this quick. I could be up here all day arguing with generations about hip hop and what's right and what's wrong. That's an ongoing thing. We're never going to be on the same page when it comes to that. But just for the record, I think sometimes people get convenient amnesia when it comes to hip hop. I can pull up before hip hop even was here, because remember, hip hop is relatively young, 50 years old. Probably the youngest genre out of all the other genres that have been out. I can pull up songs right now on a laptop of a song in 1920 where a woman was talking about her, how to use lady parts, disrespectfully. Like, she was really talking about her lady parts, cursed and everything. This is 1920. So when I hear about people, and then Curtis Mayfield with Pusha Man, the whole song was about coke in the alley, like I'm the N-word. And me and none of these kids were here yet. And y'all was rapping and singing like that. None of us were here. There was no drill music. There was no gangster rap. Y'all was talking like that before we were even thought of. So when y'all ask out why we use the N-word and stuff like that, let's go back to y'all time when y'all was using it. Because y'all use, there's a bunch of men across the street right now that play chess and checkers. They call each other N-word all the time, and they all pushing 80. They say it to each other. It's true. You know it's true, because you know them. Let me make my point. Let me make my point, because what I'm saying is fact. Everything I'm saying is fact. It can be proven. Now, when it comes to hip-hop, even in the 80s, yes, it was more about fight the power, Sister Soldier, self-destruction, Cool Herc. I get it. The 5 elements of hip-hop, all that was amazing. But you should have known that just like basketball, football, things are going to progress, things are going to get different. And the whole point of rapping music was to rap about your life. If I'm a rapper that was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, and I come outside and see crack valves, prostitutes, gunshot, what am I going to rap about? Suburbia? I know nothing about that. All I know is what I come outside and see. Now, everybody has their own angle about how they rap about it. Some people are more clever, like Jay-Z and Pop. And then you got some rappers that are not as clever with the music that just come out and say, bang, bang, shoot 'em up. New York was the first place to get started with hip-hop police. We were the first city where police officers would search and watch us, like Bobby Smurda and stuff like that. Now, fast forward to drill music, where they rap about killing each other. Y'all got to make it seem like there's a time right now where we don't even agree with it. We don't support it either. We call it bad hip-hop. The music is so bad right now that the kids sample music from the 90s. They don't even have the creativity to make a song from scratch. The people from the 90s and the early 2000s are probably happy off the royalty checks right now. So I just want to make it clear, like, I totally agree with some of the things that y'all say about hip-hop that's wrong, but we're not going to sit here and act like it's just such an abomination, because it's the culture no matter how you cut it. People in Japan, Australia, they copy us, the b-boy dancing, the way we dress, the way we talk. People in Africa that never even been here use our slang, talking about no cap and all that. They don't even really know what that means. If it wasn't for social media, they really wouldn't know. They would still be 10, 20 years behind in their own style. So I would never justify everything that's going on in hip-hop, but let's stop trying to make it seem like it's just an abomination, because if it was, we wouldn't have been on Yankee Stadium this Friday. We wouldn't have been there.
All right, thank you. We're going to end this segment with Mr. Gilchrist.
I just want to say one thing about being old. I'm 82 years old. All right. Emmett Till was 14, and he and I were the same age. So I've seen it all. But you got to understand, back in my day, you had to be a lover. And we spoke about love, man. Not, and the way we got our ladies, we made them love us. We didn't teach hate and killing each other. I come out of a series of love, man. That's how you got here. You got to understand, the white man put crack in our neighborhood, which is prone, it makes you want to love, but it's an overkill. You have to understand how our love energy has been manipulated and controlled. We're the loving people of the planet. See, this is our nature. That's why we're taken advantage of, because we have love in our hearts. So when you talk about cussing each other out, now you couldn't call me a nigger back in the 60s. I was a Marine. I'd knock you out. I had a one punch for anybody call me black or white. Call me a nigger. I mean, you know, I had to go jail. I had to go to jail when I was in the service. I tried to kill somebody because he was calling somebody else a nigger. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to say that. But I'm just expressing myself. I mean, I got carried away. But it's about love, man. You have to understand, we're all about love as black people. Amen.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back over to our host.
Well, that was very interesting, and now we're going to move forward, and I call Ron back up to the microphone. Ron, please join me at the microphone. Thank you.
Well, amen and amen. We're coming to the close. If everyone can stand where you are and join me in prayer. We're going to pray this out. Father God, we come before you just giving you thanks, oh God. Thanks for this meeting. We started it with you. We're going to end it with you. We just ask, oh God, that you give us wisdom. Lord, in the Bible, Solomon was a young man, and he was going to rule over a kingdom, and he knew not what to do. So he prayed, oh God, and he didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for all the things that he wanted. He asked for wisdom. And right now, we're going through so much in our country. We're going through so much in our community, and we don't know where to turn to. So we're turning to you, and we're asking for wisdom. Affirmative action has been dismantled. We're asking for wisdom. Voting rights have been dismantled. We're asking for wisdom. Our community is destroyed by drugs and violence. We're asking for wisdom. Lord, take us by the hand and guide us towards your light. We pray, oh God, as we end this meeting, oh God, that you bless the fellowship amongst each other, that you bless the food and the hands that prepared it, and that you bless our next meeting. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.